Do you use an electric toothbrush?
I do.
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried different ones, actually.
I have too. I'm kind of obsessive about my teeth, though. So.
Oh, really? We have wonderful teeth.
Thank you.
I
I had
understand.
braces for like 2 years.
I had 2 sets of braces.
Did you? Why?
I had a huge gap between my teeth. Like, these teeth had a huge gap, and then the other ones had a huge gap. So then I had a first set of braces that brought them all together. And then, like, right as I went through puberty, like, they went full on and put them all over. And then I did, like, the real. So they had to put them together first before they could.
And then straighten them out.
Yeah. What I'm interested in is really how did you come to this project? How did you get to this material? And how did you, why were you fascinated in it in the first place?
I didn't know you were going to segue into an actual serious question, so I
Why
was
not?
still dicking around a bit. Okay. But to answer that question, I read this script. It was, I, Tonya was a script on spec. It was later released on the blacklist. But it was an available script, and when I read it, it was just one of the best scripts I've ever read in my life. It was very original, very unconventional, very scary, which made it exciting as well. Like, how the hell do you pull this off? And obviously had an incredible character at the center of it, but also a lot of incredible characters around her. And I don't like acting on my own. In fact, any scene where I'm on my own, I that makes me really scared.
But you are incredible in the scene in front of the mirror where you're putting on your makeup. That scene,
Thanks.
I mean, maybe you should be doing more of the things that you don't feel comfortable with.
No,
Because
that's true.
that scene in front of the mirror is such beautiful work.
Thanks.
Like, such beautiful work.
That was kind of improvised in the moment, actually. Our DP, Nico, was just like, get her to look at camera and just be getting ready. And yeah, and then I don't know, it was like an overwhelming day anyway, and then it turned into like the crying, but yeah, it was one of those weird moments on set that actually translated well on screen.
It's beautiful. And the mirror is such an interesting thing for an actor, where vanity is such a large part, I think, though we try and pretend like it's not, of what we do, either trying to avert it or trying to sort of move towards it or whatever it is. And it's so interesting when you have an idea of someone, or you have an idea of a character that they're playing, and then all of a sudden that character is put in front of a mirror, and then they have to sort of, you yourself have to face yourself, and then you also have to face all the things that you are dealing with in the character that you're playing. And I felt like in that moment, it was so, I'm always so moved by people and the risks that you take, not only in character, but as a person. And that's what I felt in that moment. I was like, you were really risking a lot with this. And it seemed like you did a lot as a producer and also as an actor on it. And you put yourself into it fully. And it feels like, not to say that moment is like the microcosm of the whole thing, but it is really telling to see how much you cared and how much she cared, and like how much pressure was on her, how much pressure is on you. I mean, I love that. I like, as an actor, I'm eating that up. Like, I will say it one last time, it's beautiful work.
Thanks. Thank you. I mean, I feel like there's similarities in what we went through, and that we were both playing real life people in a situation that didn't happen that long ago. And there's obviously the added responsibility when you play a real life person who's still alive. And that was like an interesting thing to tackle. And I'm sure you had a different experience, and I'm guessing a very emotional experience because of his story. But how was it playing Jeff and playing a real life person, and just that story in general?
It was a huge responsibility. I felt like a pressure beyond a pressure I've ever felt in terms of playing a character, because you're, like you said, you want to do the situation the service that it deserves. What is the truth, right? Like, what is being honest? What is respecting the situation while at the same time illuminating what's real, And in the case of Jeff, I think, he was struggling with trying to, he's a guy who was standing there holding a sign for his girlfriend that he was sort of had just broken up with and then gotten back together with, and he was like trying to show her that he was committed to her and that he could show up. And he shows up, and then all of a sudden he's there when the explosion happens, and then he wakes up and he loses both of his legs. So I think he was just trying to recalibrate everything, and everything happened so fast. Not just that, like within a year, people were, write a book, write a book about your story. And then it was like, be this symbol for all these people. Oh wait, they want to make a movie of it, And I think I felt that from him, and I felt like I didn't want to pressure him too much, but there was this massive responsibility to get it right. And I think I'm sure you understand, like, what is the truth is always so complicated. And what I always find interesting is you always want to empathize with whoever you're playing. That's like the seeming job of what we do, is to say, how do you love this person? And yet they've done things that are hard or tough on people or have been incredibly complicated in the world, and yet you have to stand with them in some way.
So what are you two Amesbury ladies standing here for anyway?
I'm collecting donations for the marathon.
No
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You got a jar, huh? With pictures of yourself. That's so great. So you show people pictures of yourself and then you ask for money.
Yes.
In terms of you, like how the truth of the situation, loving her, I'm sure you love her.
Yeah.
Did you spend time with her? Did you?
By the sounds of it, I didn't. Not the way I think you might have. I actually wanted to keep a bit of distance. I knew that if I met her and liked her,
Yeah.
I would never play this character properly.
Yeah.
I would be sugarcoating her flaws. I'd be trying to like justify the bad things that she may do or say in a situation, and I didn't want to do that because I'm a people pleaser and I know it. And I just like so I really needed to know that it was a character and not a person that I was playing. So even though that doesn't sound like what I was doing,
sense.
but it needed to be like that in my head. I had to have them completely compartmentalized in different places in my brain. So there was the character of Tanya, and then there was the person that I'm telling their story, and there's the responsibility to do their story justice. And it's a weird thing to try and make something entertaining, and entertaining doesn't always mean funny or happy, but
it is funny. I mean,
there are funny moments,
Yeah.
and there's horrible moments. It's like life. It's entertaining, but to entertain in a meaningful way, I don't think you can really do that if you're sugarcoating something. And I didn't want to do that. So I did all my character prep before meeting her. So and there's so much footage on her from 15 to the age she is now. So that was an amazing resource. I could study her mannerisms, her dialect, the story, everything she went through, her life. I could do all my research. I could do all my prep. And I wanted to have that all done and decide exactly how I was going to play the character, every single beat, and then meet her. And to meet her, I didn't want it to feel like research. I didn't want to meet her and change any of the decisions I'd already made. I'd already kind of done that. I'm not going to change it now. And then I met her pretty much just so I could say, hi, I'm playing a character, and I want you to know that there's a difference in my mind between the character I'm playing and you, and I just hope you understand that when you one day see this movie, that because I can't let that hold me back on set.
But I think it portrays her in a. I think you were all very kind and thoughtful and respectful of her situation, and I also think that the movie exists in a tone. The tone of the movie is like just slightly off from reality in that space, So I think it allows for you to enjoy it, like you're saying. I think it is really entertaining to watch because you're rooting for this person, you're laughing with them and at them too, and all the characters around her. But I think in the meantime, you're really being really respectful of her story and really of other people who are affected by all this stuff too. So
it was the fact that it wasn't a traditional biopic gave us the freedom to like really go for things on set, and you hear the story from so many different people's perspective that when we're telling Tanya's version, it's 100% what I'm saying. But when we're telling Jeff's version, you know, I'm acting the way he said that Tonya acted in that scenario, even though Tonya didn't. I mean, the whole thing was born out of these interviews that Stephen, our writer, did with both Tonya and Jeff that totally contradicted each other. Both their stories contradicted each other completely. And that was the structure of the film, to kind of have these unreliable narrators, it would seem, because their stories kept, you know, contradicting each other. And I loved that, and it did give that freedom on set to be like, you know, this is now someone else's version of the story, so I'm going to play it totally different right now.
Did you find yourself while you guys were shooting, did you find yourself like take to take, pushing it a little farther? Because I could, you know, there are these long one-take shots, a lot of them, sometimes probably are merged posts and things like that, but I feel like maybe in those spaces, did you just say, okay, I'm gonna go farther, and then I'm gonna push it farther, then I'm gonna bring it back, I'm gonna push it farther? Or was there, like when you say you made very specific choices, did you make those choices early on, or did you make them, change them a little bit on the day, or?
I mean, it always, like, you know how it is on set when like sometimes a situation just escalates, especially when you have like co-stars like Sebastian and Allison, who like don't hold back at all, and we would kind of like know how to provoke one another in a really like respectful way, but we knew when to change the line and say something different that would take it to the next level. So it always escalated, but it always escalated in a very organic way. So it never felt over the top. It never felt melodramatic, because as long as you have utter conviction, it feels true. As when it stops feeling true, that's when I think, even if you're not doing it, even if you're not screaming, but it doesn't feel true, then I think people stop. You know, it doesn't seem like you're doing good acting, I suppose. So no matter how big we got with these characters, having utter conviction in our point of view, which was the coolest thing about the script, is everyone had their point of view, their truth that they were sticking to. Like the name of it is I, Tonya, this is my version. He's like, oh, well, I'm Jeff and this is my version. You know, to have that utter conviction meant that we could get bigger and bigger. And I mean, it also helped that we had footage, like especially for someone like Alison Janney, who's playing the mum, Lavana, who has a fur coat and a bowl cut and giant glasses and a bird on her shoulder. And if we had, you know, suggested that to Alison on the day, maybe she'd be like, guys, I think this is kind of overkill, or maybe on the nose, or whatever. But the fact that we have footage of Tonya's mum wearing a fur coat with a bird on her shoulder and all that stuff, I mean, the people themselves gave us the liberty to really go for it, because we had that footage and we knew that that's what they did and said at the time. And
man, I wish Jeff's mom had a bird on her shoulder.
She's such a good character. Talk about like great mums in the film. She was
mums.
Well, great in
let's talk about our moms.
Sense.
No,
How was she
Miranda
working?
Richardson. Yeah, I was just thinking if we had footage like that, it would have been incredible. I only had footage of Jeff that the New York Times had done really like about a month and a half after, you know, maybe a little bit longer after Jeff had gotten out of the hospital, and he was just sort of trying to figure out his life. And I had asked Jeff, you know, they won a Pulitzer, the guys who did this piece on him, and I asked Jeff if he could get me all the outtakes of all of this stuff, because I could really see how he was moving around the world at that time, which I can, in spending lots of time with him, I could do it day to day, you know, before we were shooting and prep, but I just had no idea what he was like before. There were only a few photographs, there were only stories people told, and everybody wanted the story to be a particular thing, so you kind of had to pull apart all the enmeshment of the family and everybody's idea of that day in particular, and then everything after it, and then you know, in the way, it's interesting, in your film, I think it was a group of people who were very aware of the choice that they were going into. They were very aware of the fact that, you know, she wanted to be, you know, she wanted to win gold. She wanted to do those things. And in the case of someone like Jeff, this is a group of people who had you know, he was fine just working at Costco.
Thrust into the limelight.
Yeah, he was just like, and his family was like, what is this? Who are we when that happens? I mean,
I think they're both a product of their environment too. I mean, their upbringing obviously affected the people they turned into, and then affected the way they handle a situation like fame when it was kind of unwanted, perhaps. And
yeah.
Should have seen the sign I made for you. What did it say? Had like 3D letters and everything.
I have a few questions. How much time did you spend with him? When did you meet him for the first time, and how was that? And also, how did you jump onto the project because you produced it as well. Your first producing venture?
My first my company produced it.
Yeah.
I produced other movies, but this is the first film that
company's
my
first.
company produced. Yeah.
And so